Hello, my friends. I have some exciting news about this episode. The interview was awesome. So awesome, in fact, that it ran for an hour and a half. So to be respectful of your time and hold back some really great content until next month, we've decided to break up this episode into two parts. This is part one, and it includes creating a video strategy that sets you on the path for generating passive revenue, the tools you should be using to research your target market and the content that they're looking for, and our new surprise monthly feature. All right, let's dive in. Hi, welcome to the Love to Own Your Business podcast. Here, we learn how to grow businesses we love to own. Each month, we share great advice on how to do that, and also on how to avoid the pitfalls that make us love our business not so much. Well, it's the new year, and we're growing our podcast. Because business is serious enough, we've decided to add having some fun with our guests, too, each month. But first, did you know that according to the Omnicore Group, video content is 50 times more likely to drive organic search results than plain text? Or that 72% of people say that they prefer watching a video to learn about a product or a service rather than reading about it. Well, as it turns out, last year forced most businesses, mine included, to really focus on our digital presence. For some, it was a new website or writing a blog. But for the truly adventurous or the really, really bored, it was developing video content. And it turns out that that happened to be a really sound strategy. So for those who just dipped their toes in the water, or for those still looking at the swimmers from the safety of their beach blankets, how should we be thinking about the content that we should be producing? What can we do better this year to deliver content with better reach? Our guest today can help. With us this month is Eric Worral, who has turned his passion for making how-to YouTube videos on anything from refinishing bathtubs to choosing and using software into a digital money-making strategy that works while he sleeps. So hi, Eric. Welcome.
Hey, Sean. What's going on, man?
Doing great. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. What is today? There's the 5th, so I think we're still good, right?
That's
After
right.
the 7th, you got to stop, right?
Why don't you tell us about why you chose to leave the traditional marketing world and jump into video content, become a producer, influencer, right?
All right. Well, I appreciate you using the word influencer. That's very kind of you, but we can get to that in a little bit. But I worked at you call it a traditional advertising agency, right? All sorts of different services for people. Kind of got familiar there and kind of got some experience from doing that. Ended up getting hired by a former client and managed their marketing for about 4 years as well. And I think always I had this drive to just have my own thing. And I've always been interested in passive income and things of that nature. And that's really what kind of drove me to kind of get more into video content and things of that nature. But I just like more of a curiosity too. Like I really love data and analytics. And I found with my niche in YouTube, I can create something and it's like, I got to work on this idea and I think it's going to work. And then you publish it and then you get to see the data and see if it actually works. So I get as much juice from the idea actually working as I do from the income it may generate too.
Yeah, that's great. Just the art of creation and the joy. It's like the Ikea effect, right?
Yeah. I love that. I feel like there's not too many people I talk to that throw Ikea effect out there.
I love that word. I use it all the time. It's like when I ever accomplish anything, I'm like, oh, I feel good. It's the Ikea effect.
Yeah. Well, for somebody who may not be putting the connection together, basically, right, it's like IKEA, everything comes disassembled right. And you appreciate that thing more because you had to assemble it. So that 3 hours of horror makes you like your bed more.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that it lists at a 25-degree angle, right? Still feel great about it. It's up. All right. Until you and I began talking about this, and we've known each other for a while, and we've sort of been going back and forth about video for a while, and I've learned so much from you over the last year. But until you and I really started talking about this, much of the digital world was really in a bucket of I don't even know what I don't know, and I never even knew this was possible. So let's talk about some of the available tools that everyone, regardless of their strategy and outputs in the digital world, that they should be using, because you got a lot in your bucket.
Yeah. And even before we get to that, because you said something I think is really important is like, is this even possible? Because I'll have conversations with people about this all the time. And it's not like they're looking at me like I'm lying to them, but it's kind of like, I don't think that works for my industry, or that's not Like the idea of like somebody landing on content, clicking a link, purchasing something you sell, and you've never met them, never, been around them. 20 years ago, people would be like, what are you talking about? 5 years ago, people were kind of cynics of it. And I think now more and more people are coming around to it. But I've even talked to people who want to do what I do as far as affiliate marketing online via YouTube. And the thing that I think holds up a lot of people is the belief that it'll actually work, So with that, it's like you have to kind of take some stabs at it. But if you can take some educated stabs at it and start to get a few videos or blog posts or whatever it might be, if they start working, that's where I think people start to get the juice and like, oh, wow, like I'm starting to see traffic. And then I just got my first click to a product, or I got my first sale or my first lead. So that's kind of a tough barrier to get over for people if they've never experienced that. But once you do, it's just like, why would I ever go back to a traditional route of trying to generate leads or sales for my business if I can do this and this thing works while I sleep? Yeah. As far as tools, there's a couple that I like quite a bit, mostly for research. If you want to go with the free route, Google Trends, which a lot of people know, but some people don't, google.com/trends. And, or you could Google it, but, basically that's really helpful. Like if you have a business that's seasonal or you're thinking about getting into something, like, because I know a lot of people are pivoting their businesses, you can start, putting different ideas in there and seeing what's showing up, because it's going to give you a seasonal trend to it. So like if you searched, like Zoom, right? And you're going to see a huge spike in March and April, and then it's going to go back down because of COVID. But the other thing that's interesting is if you're getting into a new product category, or especially in Buffalo where we are, right? There's a lot of different seasonal type businesses. You can kind of get an idea of like when interest is starting to gain for whatever it is you're selling. So if you're doing like snow plowing business, right? And you're like, when's the best time for me to start really like planting seeds with people? Well, that tool is going to tell you when people are starting to search for what you sell. So you might want to go a couple weeks before that. Another tool that I like quite a bit is called Ahrefs. That's how it's said, but it's spelled Ahrefs. What that is an SEO tool. And for anybody not familiar, that's just search engine optimization. So what it does is it allows you to kind of break down your website, your competitors' websites, and how they're getting their traffic. And the thing that's really great about it is there's all sorts of different features that you can do with it, but you can put in like your competitor's website and then show me their top pages. And then you'll see which pages are gaining a lot of traction for that competitor. And the reason that's so nice is you may find something where you're like, wow, I never even thought of that. And like all of a sudden you have this nugget in your head. You're like, oh my goodness, they're making a good amount of money from this. So a good example of this is probably about 12 years ago, I got into building websites. And one of them that I built, it was the tent rental websites. And I was going to sell leads to people who wanted, who had tent rental services. So I had them in like 20 different cities and stuff like that. And one of the things I did in Buffalo was I started thinking of like, what are the events that might be able to drive some sales? And the biggest event in Buffalo for that was the, what's the corporate 5K that they do at Delaware Park?
You talking about
something challenge or chase?
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not a runner.
Yeah, the corporate challenge, right? I think that's what it's called.
I think you're right.
And I think it might be by Chase. I have no idea. But basically, I created a piece of content that was like tent rental for this event. Was the company that I was working with the official tent rental provider? No. But they ended up getting like 5 deals from that in 1 week from people searching this in a panic. It's probably the HR manager or whatever being like, oh, we need a tent. Like, I didn't know we needed a tent. And if you were somebody who was in the tent rental service and you broke their website down and looked at the top pages reports, you would have seen this thing at the top being like corporate challenge tent rental. And then when you read that, you could think to yourself like, oh, wow, like this person's I can see they're getting traffic to that page. They're probably getting sales. So it's a way that you can kind of reverse engineer what some of your competition is doing online.
It's a piggyback.
Yeah. There's just, I'll probably get to this later because I think might be one of the questions you'll get to. But like one of the things I've realized is like do the research up front and see what's working for other people. I think especially as marketers, which I classify myself as, we always want to do things that are really creative or unique, and that's cool sometimes. But other times, there's already a proven method out there, and you can just imitate it and try to do it better. And one of the great tools for that, what I just kind of described, if you're making video content, is there's a tool called vidIQ. And the reason I like that one, I know I've shared it with you, Sean, is if you're ever thinking about creating video content, what I typically look for is like an idea, right? If it's, I'm trying to make a connection, and let's say it's tent rental in Buffalo, New York, which is a bad example because that's probably not great on YouTube, but you can put that into YouTube and then it'll start spitting out results of what it thinks is the best content for that query. And that's one of the great things about Google and YouTube is they're always serving you what they think is the best result. So you don't have to guess if this is good content or not. But then you can look at the view count on YouTube, see how many views there are. And then using a tool like vidIQ, it'll even give you an idea of how many views there are per hour. And the reason that's important is, let's say it is about tent rental, right? And you're like, wow, this video's got 10,000 views. But then if the views per hour is saying that there's 0 views per hour, it means that video is not getting any views anymore. So it also gives you a historic look at how many views that video got. So there may have been a massive spike because maybe the Buffalo News picked this up and shared it and tweeted it or something, something ridiculous where all of a sudden there's a ton of views at one time and then they just dissipated. So when I'm making video content, I'm always using these types of tools to analyze what's already out there. Is it working? Can I do something better than what they have? And a lot of that is really what content marketing comes down to. It's just finding opportunities, seeing how you can create better content than what's already out there. And it doesn't matter if it's, a newsletter, blogs, videos, anything. So those are 3 tools though that I really like that I find myself using on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's incredible how much big data can be used now by people who are not even the companies that are generating the big data or big data companies, right? It's all available to us too. So let's talk about how the general business owner can use big data to their advantage, just like a big corporation, either with free or nominal subscriptions or something like that, right?
Sure. There was one other service I was going to mention. And it kind of depends on what your niche is, because if your competitors are all smaller, so they might have sites that are getting 1,000 visitors a month or less, this tool might not be great. But if there's a national competitor or somebody who's in your space that, is clearly like the big guy, right? So you might be a local print shop. And, maybe your website doesn't get a ton of traffic and none of the other local websites do. But what you could do is you could use a service called similarweb.com. So I won't spell it because I'll probably get it wrong. Web's such a hard word to spell. But basically what you do with it is you put their website in. And let's say like if you're a local print shop, if you put the other print shop down the street, it's not going to give you any data back. It's not going to be able to do it. But if you put in vistaprint.com, what it'll do is it'll start to spit out how they're getting their traffic, how they're sending traffic to the site, whether it's, is it content marketing and is showing up in the search engines? Is it direct? Is it email marketing? Is it paid advertising? Then it will go down the list and show you all the paid advertising they're doing. So what you can do then is you can know that this is how Vistaprint does it, right? And no offense to the local print shop, but Vistaprint's probably got a bigger budget for marketing and they've done a lot of testing and they understand what works. So you're like, that's interesting. Like I wouldn't have guessed that they would be on Pinterest as much as they are and that Pinterest is driving as much traffic as it is. So then you can take a look at their Pinterest page and you can start seeing what's working there. So that kind of helps like narrow your decision-making a little bit because it's basically what I'm describing is the one that I think all of us know, where people will look to see where McDonald's are and then they put their business next to it because they know McDonald's did all the research, right? You're doing the same thing except for web traffic. Like how is Vistaprint driving all that traffic? And then are you going to be able to compete on some things? No, but there will be some things on a local level you probably could take from it and be able to improve your business.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and finding a way to scale it down to what makes sense for you. You may not get as much the volume of traffic, but if you use the same theory, you can at least get a piece of that which works for you and your business and the way that your expenses and everything that works out, right? So that scale works even downstream, right? So that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, and some people. I with myself was like this, where I just wanted to do, right? I wanted to create, I'd get in, I'd make something creative or unique or whatever, and it would fall on its face. And I think especially with YouTube, when I first got started, it was like 2 out of 10 videos did something, and now it's 7 out of 10. And that jump is massive, right? You're a data guy. What is that? 3.5x. So it's like to 3.5x the output of what I'm creating just by putting a little research up front. And for a while I resisted it because I'm just like, I just want to create. And that's just my personality. But then once I realized like, oh, if I take two steps back and then go 3 steps forward, it's definitely worth it. And that's been so key for me. And any business, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, there is a digital footprint to it. I know some is still going to be more handshaking, and maybe not right now, but it might be a little bit less advantageous to go with digital content. But every one of your customers is online constantly. It's not even a question anymore. So you might be leaving money on the table by not exploring ways to be in front of these people at a place where they can purchase down the road from you.
Yeah, it's just incredible what this year has done for the acceleration of digital presence for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a joke, here comes another blog, here comes another video, but you have to be in it, right? At this point.
Yeah.
Or
I think
your absence will be more noticed than your presence sometimes.
Yeah. And I think you used a great word there with the accelerant, right? It's not like a lot of this stuff is new. People have been doing it, but now there's way more podcasts out there. There's way more videos out there. There's way more content out there because people are kind of squirreled up and doing different things and creating. But I think it's just going to accelerate this form of marketing much quicker than it was already on pace for.
Yeah. All the more reason to use these tools because you have to stay one step ahead of the game, right? So now you'll have the people that are in it, but they're not doing the research, right? So now you have a leg up by doing this research.
There's so much data out there too. And hopefully they won't mind me, using their actual business name, but I live near a Joe's Deli. And the only time, if you're not in Buffalo, it's just a pretty good deli sandwich shop. I think they have a couple, 3 locations maybe. But the one that's by me is always closed when I go to, and I have a terrible memory. So I can't tell you how many times on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm like, you know what, let's get some Joe's Deli today. And I look it up and they're closed. And I'm like, and I just keep doing that. But for some reason, my wife and I were talking about that this morning. You know what? The Bills are playing in the playoffs, which hopefully they won, if you guys are listening to this, for this Saturday. And we were like, oh, what about Joe's Deli? And again, that conversation came up this morning of like, oh, they're closed. But if Joe's Deli were to go to their analytics on their Google business page, so that's just that, google.com/business to kind of see those analytics, they can go in there and see what days of the week that people are viewing their Google business page. And they might find wow, we've got more people viewing this on Saturdays or Sundays than we do on the weekdays. Maybe we should be open those days. So there's so much data out there that you can get access to and look at and make better decisions so that you can help your business out. And it doesn't have to even be necessarily something where you're trying to create digital content. It could be as simple as what should our hours be? Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm always amazed. And I've known about big data for a long time, but it still is surprising just to figure out how they get all this information and how it can be used.
Yeah. It's scary when you get into it more and more too. But I'm one of those people that just gives up. Yeah, I'll be like, please don't steal my credit card information. Besides that, if you want to know everything about me, that's fine. I know, my device is listening to me. I probably got 2 of them right now. So,
well, let's have some fun, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry you weren't having fun up to this point, Sean.
No, this is the feature switch now, man.
Well, yeah, I thought we were having fun, and then you said it like we weren't having fun, and now we got to have fun.
I have my script written here. It says, "Okay, let's have a little fun while we highlight some hard lessons from pretty big companies." Are you ready for some marketing trivia?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
My first answer is Arby's. Before you give me the question,
it's not Arby's.
Okay.
Although now we have 3 product placements, maybe we can get affiliate links for them.
I'm trying to mention as many fast food chains as possible during this call. I've got 2 so far, I think. I do have a 3rd on the way that I might talk about.
That's excellent. We have to put reviews at the end now, and now I have to see. But the more you mention, the more I have to link down at the bottom. That's a lot of work for me.
Yeah, I apologize.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna play a little trivia quiz. And we're gonna have 3 little topics.
Okay.
And this one falls under the topic of make sure that your product lives up to your hype. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the CEO of this company was so confident about his identity protection software that he printed his real social security number
LifeLock.
on social media. Yes, LifeLock.
I didn't know this is like Jeopardy where I got to get it before someone else,
No, but you do have to answer it in a question, but you have to intone it backwards.
What is LifeLock? Is that what you meant? I don't know. Intone it backwards.
I don't know either. I just thought we'd just change it up a little bit. That was almost Sean Connery like though.
Oh yeah. LifeLock.
That's good. You have to answer all the questions with like Sean Connery.
Okay, fair enough.
All
well,
right.
you know what? I actually did read something on this once, and I apologize. I cut you off, but
No,
I didn't
you're
want
fine.
the other contestants to answer before me. But yeah, basically, like it was so sensational what this guy was doing that he ended up getting hacked, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he totally got hacked. He what was it? He had like 15 or so. I can't remember the total number of, but people opened up all these different loans, took out loans in his name. It was just an incredible fiasco, right? So you had to go and clean them up. So that's probably how the back end of the business, which was Life Restore, came into being.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think what it does is, and good businesses do this. They have a guarantee or a warranty of some sort, and the more impactful that guarantee is, the more confident you seem in your product or service. So that's pretty much what they're doing, was just trying to infuse confidence in the service to be like, hey, here it is. Like, go ahead, knock yourself out.
But you got to have it back up, right?
Yeah.
I have it here. It's 13 times that that loans were taken out without his knowledge.
That's awesome.
13. Yeah, I knew I put this down in the script here. All right, here's another one where it's about really knowing your audience and really timing things really well. So this long-established pen and stationery product company incited anger globally.
Dunder Mifflin. No, it's not Dunder Mifflin. Okay,
it's not Dunder Mifflin. Good guess, though. So they incited anger globally with a digital campaign that missed the mark. Accompanied by the tag Happy Women's Day on International Women's Day, this company promoted their product by encouraging women to look like a girl, act like a lady, and think like a man. And these were in adverts in South American audience.
Okay.
Was the company Papermate, Zebra, or Bic?
I'm trying to think which of those companies might be the most sexist in South America. Bic?
You are right.
All right. I mean, complete guess. I was going to go Papermate or Bic.
Well, Bic it is. And that was, can you imagine that? This was like 2 years ago.
What year?
It was 2018,
2 years ago?
Right? So I can't imagine even 2 years ago. I mean, I know things have changed in the last like 19 and 20, but that was really, 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 really bad.
Yeah. There's a neighbor of mine. It was funny. I sent him something because we were talking about sexist advertising. Yep. So I Googled something, and it was an old clip. I think it was like a magazine, advertisement. It was for Van Heusen ties, and it was like showing a woman coming in and like on her knees, like handing him breakfast in bed thing. And he's got his tie hanging off, and it says something just like insane. And it's from like the 50s or 60s or something like that. But he teaches at a school, and he teaches psychology. And he's like, I use that exact clip with my students to like talk about some of these issues and problems from the past. But I just thought it was a funny little, weird thing that kind of popped up.
Yeah, but it still goes on, right? I mean,
when you're getting into this, though, I thought it was going to be something where like sometimes people will schedule their social media posts out and then a tragedy happens and it makes them look really bad. That one was like a bunch of people sat around in a room and were like, yes, this is a good idea. And I get what they were going for. If your marketing doesn't catch attention, then it's useless, right? Yep. But you go too far with it, and it's just kind of, the analogy I always use with marketing as far as like, getting attention is it's kind of like dynamite, where you can move mountains with it or you can blow your hand up, and I think they blew up their hand on that one by going that route. And especially today, because that thing went worldwide probably. And
yeah. And then what was the exercise company that just did that was a big one.
Was it Peloton?
Yeah, Peloton, right? So,
but the gangster move with that was the guy. What's the actor that plays Deadpool? Ryan something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably a lot of people saw it, but he did a little like play on that, and he hired the actual actress, and then like had a little funny bar scene, and he's selling his own gin in that video. And, of course, this guy's got this amazing built-in marketing in that he's a world famous actor, which I can't remember, Ryan Reynolds,
right?
But he did that thing, and it probably cost him $10,000, you know, like, I don't know how much they would have paid that actress, and it wasn't a real complicated video. Right. But that thing was seen by probably 5 million people at least, you know? Yeah. So that's really clever how he took somebody's gaffe and then played off of it, used his own fame and social accounts. So the actual spread of that marketing, you know, it cost him $0. I don't think he would have even had to put any advertising behind it. He just tweeted it out and let people run with it.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Great. I have a trivia question for you, Sean.
All right.
And maybe I've already told you this before because I like this question and I feel like maybe I have. But, and I didn't actually do research ahead of time, so I don't remember what episode it was or whatever. But what is the most watched show in the history of television?
Dallas?
No, it's an individual episode, most watched episode ever on TV. We're going by ratings.
By ratings.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's the most popular TV show? I would say it's one of the Bachelor or Bachelorette things.
Okay. So with your thinking there, what I would do is go back in time a little further. And there's a point to this. So the most watched episode, I think I found this on Wikipedia, was the season finale, last season of MASH.
No.
Yeah.
I love MASH.
So yeah, but the reason I didn't, but I watched it. And you know why I watched it? Because I had 3 or 4 channels to watch, you know, but that's the reason that record will never be broken, because now people, even if they love, like, you know, these huge shows that get super popular, like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones and these types of shows, there's so many options to choose from that it's impossible that anyone will ever break that record of the most watched show. And that is better than Super Bowl ratings, anything, that particular incredible show. But I kind of like think of an analogy with that as far as marketing, right? And marketing has done the same thing. It's gotten so like fractional with like all the different routes that you can go with things, where, you know, 30 years ago, if you could figure out TV, radio, and print, you're in pretty good shape. You know, now it's just like, well, those things still work, but they're not as effective as they were because there's so many options. So people aren't watching TV as much. Last night, I watched a clip on YouTube with my wife and casted it to the TV. So we were doing that instead. So now you got to think about YouTube, and then there's TikTok and Snapchat and, you know, all the social accounts, and there's SEO, and there's so much stuff to consider, and it gets hard to like figure out what's the right mix and what will work for your business. So it's interesting because I was thinking of that as far as the social media stuff while you're talking about it. But I get that question sometimes as far as like, what should I do? What should I use? You know, and that's where like coming up with like a customer avatar is really helpful. So trying to visualize and picture who your ideal customer is. And, you know, there's stereotypes that are bad and there's stereotypes that are based on data. And the stereotypes on data is, you know, people who use Facebook are older than people who use Instagram on average. People who use TikTok are even younger than Instagram. Right. And then there's also like, what is it? I'm blanking right now. I said it earlier. Pinterest, like that skews female, right? So if you're a makeup brand, maybe you should be looking at Pinterest and probably Instagram because it's very visual, where, you know, doing blog posts, maybe it's not connecting with that audience as good. So I think if somebody's kind of confused on like which direction they should go, is don't try to do everything. Try to pick like a few things, give it a good effort, test them out, but do it by really thinking about who your ideal client is, who your ideal customer is, and then start thinking about what they would consume and how they would consume it.
Yeah, I remember when I was learning about marketing way back when with you and Eric, other Erics. Yep. But we talked about the frequency of touches, right? So we talked a lot about, you know, don't spread yourself thin, but just make sure that you're hammering over and over and over again on just a few channels, right? On just a few mediums, right? So, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I kind of look at like marketing now as like, I don't know, like it's kind of like a game of Risk or chess where like there's a lot of pieces you're moving and you got to figure out like what's the best sequence to move things. So if you're a local service-based business, something like radio and TV can certainly work for you. But then it's also, you have to think about what kind of budget do I need to have to be able to make that work for me? And if you don't have that budget, then it's just like, okay, well, what will work within that budget? So if you don't have more than $30,000, $40,000 to spend every single year on those mediums, it's probably not going to work for you. But if you have $1,000 to spend a year, It's like I would start with your Google Business local page and seeing if you can optimize that and figuring out how to properly set that up. And maybe you can get in a few more leads and a few more sales.
Yeah.
So then the next year you have $3,000 to spend. And then eventually you can get into like more expensive marketing, that have to throw a lot of money at it. But you just kind of got to figure out the right moves and the right pieces and how to organize them at the right times.
Yeah, but I like that. That's a great piece of advice. Maximize the budget early and then build upon it. So like snowball effect.
Yeah, exactly. Get that little snowball rolling and then, just get more momentum by just tapping on other things. And I think also like a lot of businesses don't really look at their web analytics much. We didn't even mention that as a tool, but Google Analytics, right? It's free. But geez, you get into that dashboard. If you've never seen it before or only used it a couple of times, it's overwhelming. There's so much stuff to look at, but you can still get demographics of who's hitting your site. What states are they in? What cities are they in? What are their ages? What pages are they landing on? How long are they staying on those pages for? You can really get dialed in. And even if you have a limited amount of traffic, like I talked to a business before that I consulted with on this, they had retail locations and they were interested in potentially opening up a third location. And I was like, all right, let's look at the city data. So it'll get so grand. Like if you're outside of Buffalo, you may not understand these references, but it's just like, oh, we don't have a Southtowns, presence, but look how many visitors are coming from Hamburg, Orchard Park, East Aurora. Like maybe it would make sense because you're already having interest in those areas and maybe they don't want to drive to the North Towns to use your service. So there's just so much data out there that you can use to make better decisions rather than being like, I got a gut feeling, Yeah,
no, it's incredible, right? People used to have, they'd relegate research companies to go out and do market research at costs of, millions of dollars. And now you can just do it with the flip of a keystroke, right? It's just the availability of things to us at free or absolutely, zero cost is just mind boggling.
Yeah. It's, I took a course on video, creating like YouTube channels, right? And like strategy and analytics and everything that you do with that. And one of the things that I did with it is I wanted to better learn how to create content that would work and get a lot of views and clicks and all that. And from even analyzing my own data, I've gotten so specific that I can plug in a video that's out there and I can give you a pretty good estimate of how many views I will get on that video if I create it well, how many clicks I'll get, and then I can even get information on earnings per click. I can go right down the line. And like I was teaching this to a group of people who are video creators a couple weeks ago. So I was like, all right, here's a Cricut. And if you're not familiar with what a Cricut is, it's like this printer that allows you to cut vinyl and you can get these crazy graphics. And I borrowed my wife's friend's one because we made these little snowman graphics for our garage doors in our neighborhood. So it's kind of cool. You drive around, you see these snowman faces all over the garage doors. And then I was like, all right, like I was showing this to these people. I'm like, all right, how much money could you potentially make from making a review video on this Cricut device? So I went to YouTube and I put Cricut and I think it's called an Explore. And then I put the word verse, because that's like a buyer's question, right? So you always like, if you're looking at anything like keyword research, you always want to put yourself in the shoes of that person. And like anytime somebody's searching something like this versus that, they're in a purchase decision mode, right? They're pretty bottom of the funnel. They want to do something. So it would ended up being like Cricut Explore versus Cricut More or something. And I don't forget the other thing was, but looking at her video, I was like, all right, she got 500,000 views in a year. And, huge views. And I know on average that I can drive a click every 41 views. So then what I could do is I could go into the actual service, see what kind of commission they pay, what their conversion percentage is, and be able to dial down all the data. And like, I was like, I can confidently say that woman's making around $50,000 to $60,000 a year off of that video, one video, and it's wild though. But once you start seeing the numbers for what they are, it becomes very intuitive. And then you can just start looking at stuff online and you're like, oh yeah, they're crushing on that. This business is doing that. Oh, their Google page is showing up here. Like something as simple as even like you're showing up 1 versus number 4 on your Google business listing. That's the difference. Like you could double your business by showing up number 1, depending on the service that you're in, and so many like I'm talking too much. I apologize. But
no, this is great stuff.
So like, think about a Google business listing. So if somebody's listening, right, because I don't have a visual up on screen for this, but you search something like, I don't know, carpet cleaning San Diego, and there's usually ads at the top, and then you see that map listing. So that's the Google My Business listing there. And what I'll do a lot of times with that is I start to look at like the listings themselves and are they optimized, right? And what I mean by that is like, oh, like 2 of them don't even have a website connected to them. That's kind of weird, you know? And then one of them's only got 1 review. I don't think the reviews really play into where you show up, but there's services that you can spend $200 on. Bright Local is always one that I recommend to people. And basically what they'll do is they'll build citations across the web. And what I mean by citation is like Yelp.com, Foursquare, Monta.com, Twitter, Facebook. And then Google will look at that profile. And what they want to see is the term NAP, name, address, phone. So if the name, address, and phone are consistent across all these citations across the web, it basically tells Google like, oh, this thing's a legit thing in San Diego and they do carpet cleaning. So why don't we like give them a little more exposure on this listing and get them a little, a little bit more views. And then what you can do from that point is you can optimize the listing by getting good reviews, right? So you make that a point and an emphasis. And I know these are things that stink to do. Like nobody wants to reach out to their customers and be like, please give us a review, blah, 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 blah. And they ignore it because there's so much marketing mix out there. But if you're a service-based business, like, my goodness, like you could crush it just by showing up in those top 3 results. And then even better is like, let's say you have 36 reviews, 4.9 stars, and the guys who are in first place have a 3.5 listing, you're going to start stealing their clicks. Then what you want to do is, because Google has so much data, so much analytics on everything, is that when somebody clicks that listing, the timer's going now. Google knows how long they're spending on that listing. So how do you get somebody to stay on a listing longer? Flood it with really good photos, because, we're an Instagram society and we're going to sit there and flick through the photos and look at everything, and then write up a really good description. Make sure everything is optimized the best it can possibly be. And I know people who have service-based businesses. Then is it risky, like having that be your entire, business model? Yes. But I'd rather at least take an attempt at it than just say, I don't want anything to do with that, Yo,
that's fantastic. I learn everything. Every time we talk about this stuff, it's just, it's amazing. But
I like it because you're really into it, and like, I've learned to not talk to a lot of people about this stuff. Like I was at my mechanic and I was like, hey, just so you know, like you guys are really good, but like your listings, and they're just like, eyes gloss over, please stop talking to me.
I think of it though, you can diversify just your product offerings through video, right? So in other words, if you want to supplement your income, right? You just create video content based on the strategies that we're talking about right here. And you can start having multiple streams of income over and above what it is that's your primary business. And then you can just do things that interest you, right? That are also, interesting people out there. So finding that Venn diagram where they overlap, you can really...
Yeah. So, I've been thinking about this actually, because I'm doing another talk with the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership at University of Buffalo that you hooked me up with, Sean. Thank you, by the way. And one of the people in the group is a plumber. And I was like, all right, how would my skill set, be advantageous to them? And one of the things that I started thinking about was like, you know what? Like most people aren't going to care if you take video while you're at their house. Like if you're in their bedroom or something, but like if you're doing plumbing and you're underneath, like, and you're running into an issue, and there's like all these different issues that you run into, and one of the nice things is you could use the content for a dual purpose. So let's say, probably a better example is, let's say you're like HVAC and the pilot light is out and that's what your guy went out there to fix. Like what you could do is take a video, show them how to fix it, right? And then fix it, bill them for that, and just say, hey, like if you want in the future, you can do this yourself. Here's a video, but always hire a professional, however you want to couch it, right? But it creates a really amazing experience for that customer to be like, wow, like I can't believe they did this for me. They made me a video of my specific issue, so I'll know how to troubleshoot that in the future, at least remember what it was. But then on the backside, that video, if you make it public online, and again, you might have to put something into your contract with them to make sure that's okay, but it can start to get views online, and then it can start making money passively. I have a video that's how to fix a low water pressure on a bathroom sink. I want to say it's done like almost 500,000 views, and it's just made $1,800 passively on YouTube. And then it's made another probably $500 on Amazon selling parts for sinks, So if you owned a plumbing business, Does it sound annoying to all of a sudden add a video component to your business? Absolutely. And then it's just like, my guys aren't going to want to do this and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine. Like, you can just have them take the quick video footage, more like B-roll, right? And then have an editing team that's going to take that and actually make it look great and maybe put a narration to it. And then all of a sudden you're creating an amazing customer experience for this person. That's just like, that's something worth talking about, right? You're like, if you're in conversation with your neighbor, you're like, holy cow, like, I just got my, pilot light was like out of my, furnace. Not only did they fix it, but they gave me a video and showed me exactly what they did. Like, I can't believe this, and then you're drawing in potentially new customers, because video tends to rank better locally, because Google, again, knows everything. They know where that video was posted from. So you mentioned refinishing a bathtub.
Yep.
I did a video on that. It was one of the first videos I ever did, and it blew up. It started getting like 10,000 views a month. I didn't even know you could monetize it. I was just excited. I was like, look how many people I'm helping. This is so cool. And then since that video, I've had at least like, I would say 4 or 5 people locally say like, hey, I was thinking about refinishing my bathtub and I found your video. And I know it's because Google is giving that video preference locally over other videos, because they know where it was uploaded from. So there's just so much stuff that kind of works behind the scenes that can like generate more business, more revenue, more leads, everything.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
so
Sean.
as you know,
yes,
we're here to help people grow their businesses gracefully. What's a piece of advice that you wish you would have received over the course of you starting and growing your business that would have helped you avoid a misstep or an unintended detour?
I think I mentioned it earlier, and there's a lot of, self-help gurus who really preach this. And I think Tony Robbins is kind of famous for saying this, but it's basically like, if you see success, emulate it, right? And it's just like, stop recreating the wheel. And I think earlier in my career, I wasn't doing any kind of research. It was just like this blind confidence, or maybe I just didn't know. It's probably more that I just didn't know what I didn't know. But with some, especially content online, like, what's the search volume for that thing that you're going to make content on? If it's 0, you should consider, unless there's another reason why you're making that piece of content, maybe it's going to be something that's going to be used in the sales process. But maybe you're not going to attract anybody new to your business by making that content. But if you tweak that keyword a little bit, or you change something about it, oh, look, there's 300 people searching this a month, So that's kind of the stuff, like those tools that I was mentioning earlier. Like, you can make such better decisions before you create something. And that, for me personally, is what led to that 3.5x increased output on YouTube that I was mentioning, which is a completely made up number. But it was what like led to that, is because I was just doing all this research ahead of time, being like, oh, okay, now I just got to do a really good job of creating great content on that subject. So yeah, doing research and figuring out, is this something that'll connect with somebody? And am I using the right medium to connect with those people?
Excellent.